no. Okay, here we go. We're live. We're live. We're live. And I am here with the amazing Peter Stout, but Peter's hiding. But I
Peter.
see also we have a special guest with us tonight who is it, Peter?
Mr. Brian Buckrell. I'm sure you're all very familiar with him. How are you doing, Brian?
I'm great, thank you.
Yeah,
Great
we are thrilled to have you here, Brian. And so we're going to have a really fun night. As you can see, I'm in my kitchen kind of, or dining room, but it's because my normal camera wasn't working, so we're just ad-libbing. But one of the things that we're excited about tonight is that Brian has developed this incredible painting challenge, and we're going to be talking a lot about that tonight. But right before you get into that, Brian, can you just tell us briefly about you and who you are?
Who am I? Okay, but first, I'm looking over at the list here, and I'm just so pleased to see the folks that are on it. Brenda Olenek, how are you? Fee, how are you? Great to see the Islanders. My old life still hanging around. That's wonderful. Thank you all. So who am I? So I didn't get into painting until I was in my mid 60s, and it was my wife's fault. I had some health problems, the big C, and I couldn't do the physical things I wanted from life. So she dragged me off to a painting on the right side of your brain course. And here I'm still doing it, or drawing on the right side of your brain, I guess it is. And I'm still doing it 15, 16 years later. So I got into it as something to keep me busy, because I had these health issues, couldn't be physical. And my wife knew how miserable a person I can be if I'm not busy. So it shut me up and made me content that I was facing a different kind of challenge, but I didn't expect much from it. But there's the one thing that happened. So we traveled across the country a couple of times a year. We moved to Vancouver Island. Our kids were in Ontario, and we went back and forth. So we got to know Canada really, really well. One of the trips back in, I went to the McMichael Gallery in Kleinburg, and I'd never been to an art gallery before. Been to Paris, no art gallery. Been to a lot of places, no art gallery. I had no interest at all, no curiosity. So I go into the McMichael Art Gallery, and I came out a different person. I came out after they had a real strong show of the Group of Seven on at that time, and they were basically capturing my world. They were capturing Canada. And they were painting up where I used to paddle as a kid up in Georgian Bay and Algonquin Park and that kind of thing. And I came out and said, hey, I'm at a stage of my life. I got to figure out the next phase. This is what I'm going to do. Literally, I basically put on a hat and said, I'm a painter. I didn't know anything about it, but this is the start. This is where I went. And I've never sort of stopped from that. And I had the good fortune of having resources, financial and time. I was retired. So I took some classes, and then I decided I really wanted to get beaten up badly. So I went down and spent 6 months full-time at the Jeffrey Watts Atelier in Encinitas, California. And it was an incredible thing. I was in my mid 60s, and the oldest one there was 30. They beat the heck out of this old guy. They'd never seen an old guy come down to their program before. And it was some of the best 6 months of my life. And I came out with a reasonable degree of competency, being able to paint fairly well. It was all oils, and everything was from life. Everything was from life. Plein air, figurative, portrait, still life, everything. I came out with some degree of competency, and I was trying to produce what I saw. And that was really important. I understand now in my learning that I learned how to describe something at that time. I came home and I painted for a few years and did a lot of portraiture and that. And after a while, I found it was more like work than fun. And I started to dabble in acrylics. And acrylics all of a sudden became the new me. It was fun. And I could adventure. I could try stuff. I could play stuff. I was uptight when I did oils, but with acrylics, I was like this. So it was a great learning thing for me. I realized how quickly I could make changes and learn from those changes and make changes again. All the stuff I couldn't do with oil. So that's sort of what I went through. And I got into plein air and did fairly well in local plein air competitions, and the newspaper gets a hold of you and the galleries see you and that kind of stuff. So I've just grown. I've just grown over the 15 years. Now I'm at a point where I didn't know how much energy I would have left to paint. I've had some health issues and lost my wife this year, and so I wasn't sure about my future. But I've come out of that now, and I feel terrific. And this program that Jed and Peter have put together, Acrylic University, has been really important to revitalize me. And I hope it will be a positive thing for a lot of folks out there.
Well, it absolutely is, Brian. Brian has been a joy to get to know over the last couple of years. I think I interviewed you, Brian. Boy, that was actually that was a while ago, wasn't
A
that?
while ago.
That was 2020, I think, actually.
Yeah, or earlier than that, I think.
Man, that
was COVID. Yeah.
I think it was in COVID because I think I remember where I was. I was actually working. Oh my goodness, this is crazy. Anyway, I won't go into all the details, but we'd started Acrylic University, but we weren't making enough from everything to like sustain ourselves. And I had a house painting job that I had taken with my friend that I was doing, like, I don't know, I would take jobs. I was subcontracting for him. And I remember going down to the beach and I had a Wi-Fi hotspot and I interviewed you from the beach. It's a wild, interesting memory. Anyways, okay, so I think, Brian, we talked about this. So tell us a little bit about, I think your story is incredible, and I want to get into that a little bit more as we start showing your demonstration that we're going to show tonight. But I wanted to get you to describe your challenge. What did you do for us for this next year?
For this, so you folks approached me and we talked about some ideas, and you threw out this thing, and it just grabbed me. I have probably traveled across this country more than just about anybody I know, back and forth twice a year, and seen just about every corner of it. I thought, wow, this is a great opportunity to relook at some of those travels that we had and the photos and so on, and try to play with them. And we thought about how we would do this, and we decided we're going to make this sort of an introductory kind of thing for folks that are really wanting to, I think, overcome fear. That was the big thing I was hoping to have with this. These are fast starts. These are 30 minutes on average, some a little more, some a little less. But I do quick bang-ins with this. I call them bang-ins, which is a favorite term of mine. And that's what these are. And that's really important. It was important for me. I mean, I took workshops where we did these time things. And I couldn't believe how that helped me to overcome the need to put in details. Just bang in quick shapes, get the right shape, get the right value in that shape, and get the right color in that shape. And just see if those shapes relate. Does one go in the distance? Does one shape come forward? All that kind of stuff. And you can do that quite quickly with a little experience. It becomes an intuitive kind of thing. And I thought that this is a format we could do that. So that's what we've done. I've selected these photographs, and I've got to give credit to my late wife, Kathy, who took most of these, and big part of my learning to paint. The intent is to look at something and make a quick judgment on it. Bang in the shapes, then move into the value of those shapes and then the colors of those shapes, and then stop. And then the intent was that these were just starts. And so people can take them. And I'm hoping that they will take them and turn them into something more, that it should be a progression into something further. But each of them are only 30 minutes. And so it's just that first phase of the construct that's included. And some are, I think, I was very pleased with them. Some I'm not so pleased, but that's a part of the painting process. And we just expect that. But even the ones you're not so pleased, that's what you learn. Why am I not pleased about this? What can I do next with this thing? What happened with this one that I was shooting from the hip on, same as the one before, and the one before worked really well. This one didn't. Why is that? And that's a part of this whole thing. But it's really about energizing that start of the painting process. And like some people will think that it's too fast and not thoughtful enough. This is an important part of your learning, as well as the slower and thoughtful stuff.
Well, Brian, one of the most frequent requests that I get, or I don't know if I should say requests, but people will ask, "How can I paint more loosely?" Or it's a desire that people have,
Mhm.
and as you were describing that, it sounds like that's what you're saying. This is maybe one of the best ways to think and break free from the confines of painting really tight and realistic and never being able to get over that. Is that what you're kind of saying?
Yeah, yeah. To me, simplicity starts at the beginning, and you decide how far along you go from a very simple start, how much detail you want to add. And I used to go way down with all sorts of detail. Now I'm way back here, and that's style. That's how you choose your style. But this is important for putting in a foundation of the painting without detail, and then the detail is a personal thing that you add as you progress, depending on the kind of art you want to produce.
So, Peter, let's go ahead and roll it
Yeah.
because, Brian, can you tell us what your challenge is called?
Paint Canada.
Paint Canada.
Yes, sir.
So, in case you didn't know where Brian was from, he is from Canada.
He is from Canada. Yeah.
And so I think that this is a really cool way to honor your wife also.
Thank you for saying
I
that.
didn't realize that she had taken a lot of the photographs.
Almost all of them. Yeah.
Wow.
I would drive the RV and she'd be going bang, 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 bang. And I'd spend half my night on the computer trying to edit them and choose from them. Yeah. That was our life.
Neat.
Yeah.
Well, let's go ahead, Peter, and
cool.
start that. Do you want to say anything before, because we're going to play this and Brian and I are going to sit here and talk. And if you have questions, shoot them into the chat. This will give you just an example. Peter, was this one included or is this an extra one?
This one is included in the product. So, only things I wanted to add is his course is on sale for Black Friday through not this Monday, but the Monday after. I believe that's December 2nd. So it's on sale, really good price. And then the last thing I want to say is that we are having some wind and some storm stuff here. So it seems okay. There's potential we might lose power. If we do, be patient with us. We should be able to get it back and running. But anyway, yeah, let's jump into this.
Okay.
Hey, Dom-Marie.
Oh yeah, you've got all these friends here because, right? I mean, you said that they're from Vancouver Island. Is that where you know?
Some, but there's a lot of people that have taken my classes.
Okay.
Dom-Marie is here from Calgary area and so on. So lots of folks that are familiar to me. It's really nice.
Oh, that's
so
really
what I'm doing here. So how I start my paintings, I usually take a water soluble pencil, and that's what I'm doing here. And I'm just banging it very, very loosely, the shapes, trying to decide the positioning of the shapes relative to one another. This is the Bay of Fundy. What the heck are the rocks called? I think it's on the title. A beautiful, beautiful spot with it. And so I'm just banging in the shapes, and I might be identifying where the lights and darks would be with the size there. And remember, I'm tight for time here, right? I'm pushing myself here. So there's not a lot of thought. These are quick sketches. And I start with the acrylic or with the water soluble pencil so that it's changeable. I mean, it's just like working with vine charcoal without the mess. So if I'm not happy, I just can simply dampen a paper towel and wipe it off and start over with it. So that's how I start.
We got a lot of people giving you. They said Hopewell rocks.
Hopewell Rock. That's right. Yeah. So hey, Sue, I saw that. Only thing I didn't like about Hopewell Rock, Kathy and I went there twice over the years, and we could never find a parking spot for our RV. It was so busy.
I can imagine. It looks amazing.
Beautiful spot. Yeah.
Where is that?
It's in New Brunswick.
Okay.
Bay of Fundy, up the end of the Bay of Fundy.
Wow, it looks interesting, man.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Notice how I'm drawing stiff wrist, right? Stiff wrist, no finger movement at all, and just laying it in as abstractly, but with enough detail that I've got what I need. Now I'm thinking about, am I going to put some people in? Where am I going to put them? Am I going to get the perspective right on them? Don't have a lot of time. Time's moving. Got to get going here. So now I say, this is good enough. So I make a commitment. I use an acrylic marker and tie this thing in. I've committed to it. It may not be perfect, but it's enough. And so I will just create the shapes. And notice how I tend to be straight lining and how I draw. Something I was taught early on it's been good for me with it. It's just averaging things out. The final drawing tool is your brush, of course. So doesn't have to be perfect. And just sort of banging them in. And once I've got that, then I will commit it to a paint. Then I just, identify little spots that I think might have a value change in them inside that. I don't know what that, I guess that's supposed to be a tree. Yeah, just big bang, straight lines.
So I think it's cool that like you said, your wife took most of these pictures, and it's kind of amazing to me to think that this is like a joint project then between you two. And I just think that's so cool. Do you find that when you're painting memories like this, like that do you feel like it's, what's the value in painting an experience that you've had?
So if I'm doing a plein air, I will remember that almost forever. Where I didn't do plein air down here. This is from a photograph, but where I've done plein air, I can remember the plein air experience almost any place I've been. This was nice. It was a nice visit and all that kind of thing. But this is from a photograph, so I don't have the sort of emotional tie to it that I would if I was spending a couple of hours there looking at these and constructing them that way.
Yeah,
you got to get the heck out of here. The tide will wash you away.
Yeah, but it's also somewhat tied emotionally to a trip that you took, and so compared to just finding a reference photo that somebody else took. Like there's
I mean, this was done after I competed at the Parsboro plein air competition. Parsboro, just down the Bay of Fundy in Nova Scotia, and this was a part of that trip with it. So
okay.
They all kind of tied together.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. So Brian, this is, you can interrupt me if I'm asking a question and you want to talk about the process that you're showing. But we were talking earlier about
what I'm working with here is a flat. It's a little more than an inch long and an inch wide, and it's a legato made by Opus. And the only thing about it is a medium stiffness. So you'll see how it holds the edge like that. Really tight, and that's probably a 7 or 8 year old brush. Sorry.
No, that's great, because I want to go into something that you mentioned about your lines being kind of straight. Mm-hmm. And I think that it makes me think of it's a little bit graphic, but what do you like about the straight lines, the straight edge of the brush, that kind of thing?
To me, it's all about that first step of approaching simplicity. Like, if I took every little ins and outs of that rock, it'd be like painting every leaf on a tree. And so just bang, 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 bang. And I can, the brush is what will tell the tale. I mean, that's will do the final drawing. So I always start with transparent. So I don't know what I'm working with here. This is probably dioxazine purple, maybe with a little burnt umber in it. And I put in my darks, and then I'm just fooling with those to try to have a relative value difference with it. I'm talking to myself, basically. This is what I want here. This is what I want there. And like, no hesitation, no concern about the final. The final outcome will be the final outcome. And I can take this and change it immediately because it's acrylic. So I've got that immediate ability to make changes. So I'm mixing up, looks like a burnt sienna there now. The painting surface, these are all 12 by 12s on canvas. Just a gessoed canvas. So mixing up burnt sienna, and I do a lot of that, sort of just laying in the edge and then pulling away. And I like that for these brushes. And, I mean, I'm no longer a detailed painter. This is about abstract. This is about feeling at the end of it, and try to get as close to it as I think I can.
Do you?
It's a buildup, layer over layer over layer. Sorry.
Yeah, you start with transparent and then work towards more opaque colors. Is that what you do?
I'm into the opaques now, but I always go with my darks with transparent. Most of us would do that. Probably you do too. That's both in oil and acrylic. I think that's the common start, and not watercolor necessarily, but oil and acrylic, and gouache as well.
Is that canvas toned or is it white?
That one's toned slightly gray.
Okay, it's a light gray.
Yeah, light gray. Some of them are very toned with color in the program, and I don't make a big deal of that. I mean, if you've got if it was a red underpainting, it can be fun to let some of that pop through, but I don't have to let it pop through. Acrylic covers it beautifully, so it's not, you're not stuck with it, and it's not doing anything. You can see I am a fairly angular painter with these brushes, and I enjoy that, whether it's good or bad or interesting or ugly, I don't know, but I like doing it. It just feels good, feels fun.
I think that says it all, though, because I think that if you enjoy it, it comes through.
I'm at an age now, like, I don't care. If I'm enjoying it, that's what I'm doing.
Absolutely. That's what they say about getting older. It's I care less about what people think.
Yeah.
Benefit. Okay.
Any questions?
I do see a couple questions. I'll see this. Do you often start with underpainting?
So do I have an underpainting on my canvas? Is that the question?
Honestly, I don't know what she means exactly with that.
So I usually have an underpainting. In some of these ones, I've left it fairly white. So most of them have an underpainting, but some of them are quite light. And it's often easier for people to see them when I don't have the mid-value underpainting. So I do a different type. When I'm teaching, I put the underpainting on after I've done my drawing. Then I put the underpainting on so people can see me doing the drawing well in the Zoom teaching classes I do.
Okay.
So I don't know if that was the.
I think that was actually, now that I think you're right. I think she was just asking if.
See that little brush stroke of magenta right at the bottom of the middle rock? I love magenta. What a wonderful warm color that is.
Absolutely.
That's Liquitex medium magenta. Liquitex makes some really nice grays.
Yeah, that is a nice warm color.
So one of the things I'm doing here is I'm not blending, right? I stroke, lay it down, lay another one beside it. Sometimes lay it over, but there's no blending. I'm not a blender. And I prefer that. I'd like to see individual brush strokes. It's about a painting, right? It's not about a photograph. It's not about perfection. It's about character, and brush strokes are a huge part of the character of the work. Oh, little purple sneaking in there. You see how my paint is all in a pool there. And so I've got a whole bunch of different things mixed into that one, and it ranges in value from light to dark. And I've even got some purple in the middle, and I'll just by happenstance, pick up some or the other and lay it in. It's about having a fun finish.
Would you repeat the name of the brush?
That's a Legato, Lagetto. I think it's an Indian-made brush sold by Opus in Vancouver, and I think they're a couple of places. But they are. It's nothing special. It's just a medium stiffness flat. Everybody makes them. Princeton makes some of the best brushes I work with today, and so on. There's It's more about the width, the length, and the stiffness, and durability with it. So my palette, so you can see it up top there a bit. It's fairly limited. It's what I would call a split primary palette. So it's a warm and cool yellow, a warm and cool red, a warm and cool blue. So what was it? It would be a yellow ochre and a cad yellow light for the warm and cool yellow. It would be a cad red light and a alizarin crimson for the reds. And it would be an ultramarine blue. And what was my other blue? It might have been a phthalo blue. I change it all the time, but it's usually around that construction of a warm and cool from each of the primaries. Then I will sometimes throw in what I call fun colors, just colors. I look at this painting or look at the reference and think, man, this would be really good to have something, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And so I'll just play. I'll squeeze out some. The core palette is what you can see in the fishing tackle box. Those are the colors I described. And then there's a black, the white, and I think I've got a phthalo turquoise in this one. And it's all the same. It's the same palette all the way through the program. But the fun colors I put out are sometimes a little different, and I talk about that.
How did you mix up the dark colors?
How did I choose them?
Yeah.
So I mean, I've got alizarin crimson, I've got burnt sienna, I've got different blues, I've got
I think they meant what colors did you mix for your dark in this painting?
Yeah, that's what I'm getting to. So I've got all these transparents. So I've got all sorts of choices, mixing transparents together. I've got alizarin crimson, and I've got the phthalo turquoise, black when you put them together. I've got ultramarine blue, and I've got burnt sienna. Very wonderful, probably one of the most essential combinations to have in your palette for producing darks, very strong darks that you can move to warm with a little more burnt sienna, move to cool with a little more ultramarine, and so on. So I don't know what I've chosen in this case. It looked like I was working with dioxazine purple and probably burnt sienna, or I don't really know. But they work really well. It's easy to produce the darks if you've got transparents. Transparents just means there's no white in it, right? And so they build up and produce a really nice dark. And then that takes and makes the opaques zing. They zing against the transparent. Really fun.
This is a pretty blue that you're putting on.
Pretty blue. I think that is. Oh, that's the phthalo, I guess, whitened up, or that might have been one of my fun colors I put out. I don't see the fun colors on my palette, so I must have stuck with just my core. Sunny day blue.
Yeah.
I wanted to actually jump in here and you can add to it, Brian, but Brian actually has several scenes in his new course that are very, very detailed. And it's very cool to see how he approaches them. But Brian, if you want to add to that, since you look like a more graphic look, do you avoid scenes with a lot of detail, or do you just make them more graphic, like your style?
Yeah, I'm. The term graphic surprises me, so I'm interested that's the word that you would choose, and I don't know what that means, quite frankly, other than that I'm drawing in a very graphic way, possibly. No, I tackle anything. The more detailed, the greater the challenge. The challenge is simplification, right? I mean, if we looked at the details in the original rocks over on the left, 15 years ago, I would have tried to get every one of those dark little crevices and so forth in the painting. Now that's not what it's about for me. So I don't hesitate to tackle something that's complex, and it's the challenge of simplicity that's probably one of the most important parts of making a painting. I don't know if I've described that well. Is this at normal speed, Peter?
Yes, it is.
So one of the things that you can do is, if you're just learning and this approach interests you, is you can slow it down, of course, and just follow along slowly as you're trying to keep up. A lot of people, here comes my magenta, love it. A lot of people will try to follow it right along. A lot of people will do it after the fact, just taking and playing on their own later. Isn't that a nice color?
Yeah.
Love it.
Fun to see.
So I'm doing this whole thing with the, yes, we do provide the reference photos, and they're yours to keep. My wife would be very proud if you would use her photos and enjoy them. What was I going to say? Mustn't have been really important. Oh yeah, so I everything I'm doing is with this one brush, right? I have two other brushes that I've worked with in this series, and one is a Princeton, and the other, and it's another flat. It's probably about an inch and a half, I guess. It's an inch. It's an inch, as is this one, but it's not as stiff as this guy. So I will rarely change brushes. I like to try to play and make the brushes dance and just have them do different things. And that's an important part of learning to paint, of course, as most would realize, is trying to use brushes in a way that you think you couldn't use them, that they're too big, and learning to make them dance on their edges and in the corners and all this kind of stuff is I think really helpful for learning.
Yeah, I like your bold brush strokes. When you were saying the idea of graphic, and you didn't know why they would choose that word. I guess I threw it out there earlier, but I was kind of just thinking about the straight lines.
Yeah,
some of that.
Yeah. I can see that.
Yeah, I love kind of the things that you're saying about it, because you're saying that it helps you simplify when you go that direction instead of trying to get in.
Thinking simple. I'm thinking simplification from start to finish, as much as I can. I mean, and just even these little abstracted tree things up there, they're just a little stroke. And that's all you need. Anybody that looks at that and says that's an aeroplane, what else can it be? And so you can really cut the information down and hopefully still try to get the intent across.
Yes, I do like those green aeroplanes up there.
I mean, if one of the things that anyone could say about my work, if they said it was painterly, that would make me very happy.
Yeah,
and that's what I want. That's what I aspire to. And even though I'm an old guy, I've got goals, and the goal is for me to get more painterly, more aggressive with my brush, and describe things in a simple but very colorful way. So I'm working in that direction now.
Okay, so that makes me want to ask you this question, because earlier you said that you learned how to paint realistically when you were in your training, and then at some point you had to make and you said it was a huge step of artistic courage to go and put your reference photo behind you and start trusting your own knowledge. Can you talk a little bit about that? And can you also tell the story about what your wife said to you?
You're a difficult man. It's hard early on. This is important. So I'm putting in these people, and I'm using my acrylic marker, right? And so that's a wonderful tool. We're just drawing in with acrylic on acrylic. And all that is their silhouette. And I think I popped some colors on them after. Oh, there's a little kitty. Maybe there's a dog. I don't know. Can't remember. So there's the family outing. So I was trained to be correct, so to speak. And that's how we should all learn. You want to try to reproduce as close as you can what you're looking at. That's how you learn color mixing. That's how you learn a whole bunch of stuff. And it's important that that's driven into you in your early years. But after a while, you start to ask questions, and you look at people's paintings and you say, could I do something different? Could I be bolder? I didn't need this I didn't need it for the money. I didn't need it to sell paintings. I needed it for me. And I wanted to push myself sort of as hard as I could. There's my other brush. So that's my little rigger brush that I work. And I mean, that's just suggestion of people. And, you know, maybe you buy it, maybe you don't, but that's me. Anyhow, so what I share with you, I have a technical science background. And so detail is important to me, trying to make these things as correct as possible. And how I would paint down in my studio downstairs. Beautiful ocean view studio, was really nice. But I would bring my paintings up and put them in the living room, and they would stay there for 3 or 4 days or longer while I was looking at them and thinking about them. And my wife, who was a very emotional in a good way, very responsive to the feeling of paintings, would either like them or not, and I would try to take that into account. Well, one day I took up 3 paintings that were far from finished from my point of view. I just wanted to make decisions about the big shapes and what I would do with them. And she just said, those are nice. I really like those. Do not touch them. Do not add more detail to them. Put them in a frame and take them to the gallery. I did. I took them to the gallery. The gallery accepted them and they sold within a week. And that was a huge learning thing for me, that people wanted the adventure of a painting. They didn't want another photograph in oil or acrylic. They wanted something moody. And that's, you know, that's why the group of 7 are you know, that's why Tom Thompson's paintings stay alive 100 years later. They want something that catches them. And that was the first time I felt I could free myself from the fear of not being correct. And so I started to stop looking at my reference fairly early in the painting process. And now I really encourage that. You need to review your painting away from the reference. The painting's got to stand on its own. No one that sees that painting will ever see it with the reference, right? You're the only one that'll ever see the reference. And the longer you go with that reference, the more you'll be disappointed, because you'll never, ever, ever be able to duplicate it. So I'm a huge proponent of getting away from it and let the painting tell you what it needs next. So now I'm going through and just goofing around, just adding some details. That's probably just black, maybe with some blue in it. My rigger brush, just talking a little bit there to what we're seeing.
So is your paint thinned down at all for your rigger brush?
No. Oh, a little bit of water maybe. I'm not a medium painter. Yeah. I'm a water painter. So I add water. I don't use medium. So it would be thin enough that I could take it and talk with it.
Gotcha.
I think that's it, Peter.
Looks like it is.
Yep.
Looks like it is.
Yeah.
Put it in a frame, take it to the gallery, and see what happens.
Sell it in a week.
Sell it in a week. Yeah.
There you go. There you go. Let's see here. So I think we've got about 20 minutes left. We don't have to go the full 20 minutes, but we can open it up for Q&A.
Yeah, I'd like that.
Yeah. Let's do
I
it.
saw this. June says, yes, darn reference photo becomes a frustration after a while.
That is, and that is a huge learning thing. When you free yourself up, when you're having the courage, and this is why you need to paint small and paint a lot, and why you need to not make a painting for a purpose, but make a painting for learning. And you do it so that you can just get away from the reference early on in these small paintings. And I can do it. I can get away. It's amazing. And it's so much more fun. And I don't have any of the detail in it. So I'm much happier with the product. That's an important learning thing. That's very hard for a lot of people. Thank you, Susan.
Yeah, a lot of people giving great compliments. For sure, please ask any questions. I see another one here. So sorry if I missed it, but what is the price of the class and is there lifetime access? Yes, that's one of the really great things, is that yes, you will get lifetime access to it, because it's a lot. Even though they're short, it's still 52 lessons, and that'll take you through a whole year if you are able to stay on the schedule once a week. But a lot of times we know that that's a challenge. That's why we call it a challenge. But you'll be able to have that for years to come, so that if you need to jump back into it because life happened and you're a month behind, that's okay. And
It was funny. Jeff's wife Renee made a comment to me about my what do you call these things?
oh,
Mini.
miniature challenge.
Yeah, so she called this a mini challenge. I said, "You got to be kidding! This is at least a maxi challenge." My God, this was big.
Yeah, and Brian's paintings are 12 by 12. So we're just calling this a challenge. It's not that the paintings are necessarily small. The first one that I originally did was 6 by 6 paintings, and we've had a little variety in size, but this is not the smallest one. I believe that the price right now, Anna, Peter, do you want to say it officially? Because I don't want to make a mistake here.
Yeah, no big deal. It's on Black Friday, so the lowest you're gonna get it for a long time for $179, and that's US.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So make sure that you do that.
Yeah.
Okay, I see this question, and Brian, you can answer this. Jane,
they're yours. What you can't do is enter them into a judge competition, right? But they're yours to sell, and that's in part. I'll just explain it. Just might as well be honest about it. That's why we went for 12 by 12, because I've been able to sell them in the local 12 by 12 shows after this. So it's a double positive for me. But yes, you are free to sell them.
yeah,
give them to your mother-in-law, whatever.
And I'll just add in there that it would be very honorable of you also if you just gave credit to Brian for coming up with the original idea of it. But
actually, that's appropriate. I'm glad you mentioned it. That you just should acknowledge that the reference photo is from Kathy Buckrell.
Yeah.
Or me.
It's a good question.
Okay.
Are they beginning the west to east to north, or vary from week to week? So the way that we actually structured it is, yes, it is starting in the west, and then we're going east. We're kind of going like this, up and then down and then east.
Okay.
Yeah.
And does it loop back around or not?
No, I think we go coast to coast, basically.
Just goes across. Okay. Yeah. It's a grand tour. There's only 10 provinces, right? So
plus the Yukon.
Plus Yukon, and so I don't know. I don't know where all the paintings came from, but
yeah,
you did 52.
Did 52. We did 60, I think. And
yeah, he did more than 52 because we had to do redos and we wanted extras.
Oh, man, yeah.
How these things go.
Peter was a pretty stern taskmaster there for a while.
I felt bad about it, but I had to.
Brian, that's why you said, heck no, this is not a miniature challenge.
No,
this was a major challenge.
But it was wonderful. I learned so much. I mean, making 60 videos and doing the time frame and all this kind of stuff, it was a great learning curve for me.
Awesome.
Fun.
Registration process. So there's a link in the description, or we also have a pinned link in the YouTube chat that you can go register right now. So
hey, Karen, how are you?
Difference between
sorry, Peter, I accidentally
you're totally fine. You're totally fine. We'll go back to that one. Difference between transparent and opaque paints. Is it written on the tubes?
Yeah, there was a question there just before, which we'll come back to. But yeah, it's clear. And one of the things I really recommend, but particularly with acrylics, the power of transparency is huge. For a whole variety of reasons, from glazing right down to making your darks and so on. And you need to know the difference. So in my live classes, I encourage people to separate them out. I want to see that you know which are transparent and which are opaque, that you understand the power of each of them and how you use them. So the difference is the transparent paint is transparent. It's like a sheet of colored glass. You can see it has an effect with what's below, but you still can see what's below. So you can see through it. And you can add more layers to it. So if you're doing a transparent glaze, depending on how much paint instead of medium or water you added would affect how much you see through it. If you put another layer on, you see less, another layer on, you see less. And so you can control the effect that you're getting. With opaque, it's full of white, it's all or none. You put it down. If you've got enough paint, putting another one on it doesn't change it. You don't see what's underneath it. So there's a real difference, and it's on the tube. Yes, each manufacturer of a quality paint, of an artist grade paint, you should be able to identify. And you need, I keep mine separate in different drawers, different parts of a drawer. My darks and my cools, or my warms and my cools, are separated by transparent and opaque. That's just a habit now. I know what they are, but it's important. I think that people understand that and use it. It's an important tool. The difference.
Yeah, it is. Oh, sorry, man, Peter.
Am I going to Newfoundland?
No,
but you can come to me. I do Zoom classes, a lot of them. I just back from spending a month in Newfoundland this summer, and I had a wonderful time. I'm an RVer, and Newfoundland is an RVer's delight. You can park anywhere and paint, so I had a great time. But no, well, I say no. Is this an invitation?
there we go.
I'd love to go back. Yeah.
I'm on a cruise Black Friday USA. Can I register early? Yeah, our Black Friday sale goes until Monday, December 2nd.
It's on right now as of today. This is
as of today.
Kickoff
it's on sale. Yeah.
For the sale.
Karen, you have too much fun.
Are the lessons silent with only painting as we saw tonight? No. The lessons he teaches, we just muted it so that they could talk over it and, Brian could talk about it and stuff. But no, the lessons are, he's talking, he does instruction. So
I see this one. Let me throw this. Are you adding any more 12 by 12s to the gallery sale at the loft?
No, I'm done. I was so 12 by 12 out. I was going to scream at the end.
That's funny.
It's done. Thank you.
Okay, now I've seen this question throughout the night a couple times. So I know Betsy really wants to get your opinion on this. Do you consider ultramarine warm or cool? And what about phthalo blue?
So ultramarine is a bias of red, right? And so it's blue with a movement to red. And so phthalo, most phthalos would have yellow in them. Now, phthalos can have red, they can have blue in them, but they have some yellow in them. So, this is an academic thing, and it kind of drives me nuts because it's not that important. It just isn't that important. But
I agree with you.
If you gotta, you put a touch of white in it, and it totally changes the temperature. So, think simplistically. If you jump from blue into the violet, it's a huge temperature change. But between the blues, it's hardly any at all. And it's how you apply it and what you put it next to it that really has its effect. So some people will say ultramarine is warm, and some people will say it's the phthalo. I don't care. I used to be. This was important to me because I have a technical background. So I used to think about stuff like this, and now I do not. And I discourage my students from thinking about this detail because it makes them tight. I want you to be loose. Grab a little of this, grab a little of that. You don't like it, change it, but don't get too tight. Work about the big temperature. That's important.
I think the thing that helped me was I stopped talking about it as warm and cool. And I just said what you said at the beginning. Ultramarine generally leans towards red. Phthalo generally leans towards green. Or you could say violet and green. And that is just, don't think warm and cool so much. That's less helpful as just going, this one's going to make a different kind of violet this direction. This one's going to make a different, Anyway. Okay. What else?
That wasn't a very good answer. I've painted Peggy's Coves a number of times, actually. I came across the photo of Kathy and I in Peggy's Coves back in the 70s. And I reproduced that a few times and had success with it. Then I've been back to Peggy's Cove every 2 years, I guess, for the last little while. I competed in their painting competition there, which was fun. But it's like Disneyland now. It's all pavement and sidewalks, and it's still pretty interesting, but it doesn't have the natural thing that attracted me before. But beautiful part of the country. Love it.
There is a lesson for Peggy's Cove in the course. So what brand of magenta do you use?
So I buy quality paints on sale. Just the simplest way I can say. And so the ones I like in the magenta, I really like Liquitex's. I really like their medium magenta. It's just fun. And I could, so one of the things I get people commenting about, why do I put out so many colors? I know Jeff has a fairly restricted palette, and when I paint in oils, I have a restricted palette. But in acrylic, I want to paint fast. And so I don't want to have to mix stuff up if I can help it. If I can buy a gray, like magenta the medium magenta is a grade down one slightly, or it's toned to be as I like it. I'll put it out and I'll use it, but I'll never use it from the tube. It's always being added to something. So it's a brush stroke over something else or whatever. But I put out, particularly plein air, I put out more colors than most people would think necessary because I want to go fast. Acrylic means you got to paint fast. And so I don't want to spend time mixing them up. And if I do, they just dry on me anyhow. So I'm quite happy to squeeze them out.
That's great. I like you said, acrylic means go fast.
Yeah. Love it.
And that's a positive thing because it limits your opportunity for detail.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. Is there a Facebook group for the participants in this challenge? Yes, there is. Is there a further discount for AU members? No. So AU members basically get the Black Friday price year round. So during Black Friday, we make the Black Friday price publicly available, but AU members get that discount year round. How will we access the course? So you access it through the Acrylic University website. So just like you would for the membership or the journey, the library, any other courses you have with us, you'd access it through the website.
Hey, Patty.
Let's see.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Have you used Open Acrylics?
Yeah. So Open Acrylics came out, I don't know how many years ago, and I absolutely hated them. It was like painting with toothpaste, I thought. Sticky, really terrible stuff. But in the last about 3 years, I started to add it to my plein air kit. And so I would add about 20%. And I've just come back from the planing competition down in Escalante, Utah, and it was hot. And I mixed it close to 50%. And it really worked well. It was fine under those conditions. In my studio, I wouldn't. I might a bit if I was doing portraiture and I needed blending, but I'm not a blender ordinarily, so it's not a big issue for me. So I'm not against the product like I was before, but I have to use it not on its own neat, but mixed to some extent with the heavy body. And then proportional depends on how hot it is.
Do you use a Stay Wet palette?
No, and I sometimes think I did. I used a Stay Wet palette forever. And then I got into this fishing tackle thing, which is really handy. It's extremely practical, especially when I'm doing plein air, when I want to add things like the open to it. I can mix it up in those little cubicles and, it stays good in there. And so I've gone to this fishing tackle thing and I really, really like it. So I take the paints out from that and I mix it on a glass palette. And that's what you'll see in the videos. I don't know why I quit the Stay Wet because I really quite liked it. Some of the time it added too much moisture to the paint and it was a bit of a challenge controlling that. So I think I decided that to reduce that, I would take it out of my fishing tackle box, put it on my palette and decide how much moisture I wanted to add. So I had control, whereas the Stay Wet palette kind of took control away from me with it. And that's just the way I was working with it, which probably there's better systems. So I really recommend it highly for people starting off in particular. I mean, people, the big thing is people say that you can't work with acrylic because it dries too quickly. And that is, there's all sorts of ways to manage that. Even that little fishing tackle box, because you can close the lid. I open the lid, I take a little paint up, bang, close the lid. It's never exposed to air, hardly. So there's all sorts of little things you can do. So don't be discouraged by taking your acrylics outside and getting in, some good plein air days.
Yes. Gisela, can we have a sneak peek of the paintings we'll be doing? So on the sales page, we have like a dozen of them or so that they should give you a good sneak peek of the kind of things you'll be painting. Yeah. Let's see.
Did
Go
you
for it.
just answered Gisella's question about seeing the sneak peeks?
Yeah.
So okay,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I was reading
No.
something else.
No, you're totally fine.
This question came up a couple times here. What do you paint on? It was a canvas, just a normal canvas, right, Brian?
Just a normal. I usually put an extra layer of gesso on it, and I put my gessos with a roller, like a Home Depot or Canadian Tire roller, one of those little cheap foam rollers, and it leaves just a little texture. Like I just lightly stroke it across, and it leaves a little bit of texture. I like to have a little tooth if I can with it. And another thing I've been playing with is Liquitex's clear gesso, which really creates a different kind of tooth to it, and that's fun. But I didn't do it in this program.
What about Prince Edward Island?
Yep. You got to have some red clay there somewhere.
Yep. There's two of them. Two lessons in there.
Okay, here's another technical one. What kind of fishing tackle box?
The kind of fishing tackle box that holds paint. I don't know. There's so many out there. I have probably 20. So I go to stores and I see like, oh, I got to have that one. So I collect them. Home Depot sells ones for screws that are really nice. You can get different sizes. Husky makes them different sizes. It's got to have a bit of a tight seal. A lot of them have little vertical blockers that you put in between it. And I was worried that the paint was going to sneak from one to the next, and I was gluing them and all this stuff. No problem. The paint's too heavy to move between them. So they work really, really well. I really like that approach. And some days I have two of them going. So I've got all my colors out there, just like a great big piano. And I'm grabbing stuff and all this stuff. And it's fun. I like it.
That's
very practical way to handle acrylic.
I think we'll go ahead and wrap it up here. I know we're trying to keep it nice and snappy, and Jed, I think you have somewhere to go. So
yeah, guys, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Brian, it's incredible. You've taken this big task of making a huge course, and we really appreciate you working so hard on it. We know that it is a lot of work and a lot of effort for you, for every artist who's ever done one. So we really appreciate you putting in all that time and effort. And we know that people are going to just really enjoy it. And I just want to reiterate two things here. One, I want to say that if you want to paint impressionistically, you want to loosen up, you want to have a little bit of emotion in your painting, I can't really think of a better person to learn from than Brian. Because that's essentially what he does. You said, Brian, that you would appreciate the comment like that your paintings are painterly. That's your style. It is. That is exactly it. So I wanted to say that your paintings are very painterly. They're beautiful. I love the way that you express yourself, and I'm really excited that these are a combination of your work and your wife's work with her photographs. That's so cool. The second thing that I wanted to say is really a question to you, Brian, because this is called Paint Canada. But would this be a good challenge for people who are not Canadians? We know it's good for Canadians, but what about Americans or people from other parts of the world?
I paint in the States all the time. Come on up here and paint Canada. Yeah.
Absolutely.
We've got some really nice scenery up here, and some nice photos included in the mix. And I mean, the mountain ones, you could pretend you're in Colorado or whatever. So yeah, come on up and paint Canada.
Yeah, you've sold me on Canada. Like editing your videos, I'm like, man, we gotta go travel.
Oh geez, I forgot you were Yanks down there, aren't you? I keep forgetting that who I'm talking to. Yeah.
Well, I'm a dual citizen. A dual citizen. So I do have that Canadian citizenship that we can go to, and I know how beautiful it's a rugged landscape. The Canadian Rockies are similar to the Rockies in the States, but in some ways they're a little bit more rugged, and they're in some ways, I think they're even more beautiful. I mean, but the prairies are similar. There's a lot of similarities, but there's a lot of unique things about Canada too. So
the whole continent is absolutely beautiful. You can find interesting places everywhere. So thank you very much. I want to thank you guys for allowing me to participate in this program. I want to thank everybody for showing up, especially my old friends that I've seen in the teaching programs. They're old friends from the island. Thank you all. Appreciate you being here a lot.
Absolutely.
All right. And Karen, the lessons drop every Friday. Once it starts, they come out on a Friday. So that's the way that works.
Yep.
All right, you guys. Thank you for joining us tonight. We love you. We believe in you, and we're thankful that you were here. And we'll look forward to seeing you guys take advantage of this Black Friday sale and get into Brian's course right away. It's going to start early January, and you will love it.
Absolutely.
Say hi to your mom.
Bye, everybody.
All right. See you guys.
Good night, everybody.